Okay, guys, we're in Advanced Math Trig, Mod 7. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. So top left corner of your paper, 4/22/20, Wednesday, April 22nd. The title of today's notes, and guys, I'll just tell you ahead of time, for the next 4 days, it's going to be very straightforward equation solving problems dealing with exponents and logarithms. So for today, and it'll carry into tomorrow, we're going to attack a topic called exponential equations, which are going to be equations that have missing exponents involved. Okay? So if you're solving an equation and it has a missing exponent, what's kind of your plan of attack to get going and solve for the missing x? Now, notice I've got these numbered. If you look at the front of my paper, I've divided it into 4 parts. I've got 1, 3, 5, and 7. On the back, I divided it into 4 parts, and I've got 9, 11, 13, and 15. What that's about, if you look on your Schoology, right underneath this lesson that's listed on your Schoology account, there is another 4/22 date that says worksheet or homework worksheet on it. Oh, and I've attached a copy of all these problems on that worksheet. And that's important to notice that and see that, because your homework is going to be 2 to 16 even that are found on that worksheet that I attached to the Schoology. Okay, the sheet looks like this. So when you print this out, that's probably a good idea. If there's any way you can print it out at home and have a hard copy of this worksheet sitting in front of you, that'd be great. Otherwise, of course, you're going to call up this sheet on Schoology and copy down and see all the problems that are on there. But it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., all the way from 1 to 32. So Mr. DeMarco took the time to type up all 32 of these questions. We're going to make this simple. Today, I'm going to do 1 to 15 odd as your notes. You're going to do 2 to 16 even as your homework assignment to see if you can understand and do the problems like I'm about to show you. And then those 8 problems will be each graded, 1 point apiece for the right answers, like a little 8-question quiz here. Plus, I'll give you a point for trying the assignment, plus a point for using the right process. So this is going to be a 10-point assignment due tomorrow on Thursday at noon, okay? So let's get rolling. You will need your calculator out to do these. All right now, problem number 1. It's real simple, straightforward. First one, it says e to the x equals 10. And you're supposed to figure out what that missing exponent is, correct? Well, if I started guessing, e to the 0 power would be what? 1. E to the first would be what? Well, remember we had mentioned e is equal to about 2.718. So e to the first would be 2.718. E to the second, if I took 2.718 and squared it, now 3 to the second would be 9, so that wouldn't quite be 10, would it? But e to the third would probably be too big of an answer. So I'm betting that the missing exponent is probably 2 point something, but taking a guess and approximating, of course, is not going to work. So how do you solve an exponential equation? All right, guys, it's real simple. I have a saying for this. Since I'm looking for a missing exponent, but I'm not sure what it is. Okay, ready? When in doubt, log it out. Remember, on an equation, you're allowed to do whatever you want to both sides, as long as whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So when in doubt on a missing exponent, if you don't know what that missing exponent is, why not log both sides? I'm going to log the left side and log the right side, but careful, because there's an e involved. When I say log both sides, we're going to natural log both sides. Agreed? Because the base of e is being used in this problem, as will be the case for all the problems today. So guys, I'm going to log both sides. ln of e to the x equals ln of 10. And now that I've natural logged both sides, remember our rules when we condensed and expanded logarithms? take this exponent and move it out front. So I've got x ln e equals ln of 10. And then I'll point this important fact out. We're going to use it a ton today. If you ever see ln of e, remember it's really equal to what? It's equal to the number 1 every time. I guarantee you if you took out your calculator right now and typed in ln e and hit enter, you'd get 1. So since that's a 1, you can ignore it and cross it out. It's irrelevant, right? It's just a 1 sitting there, and 1 times x gives me x. So really, to solve this problem, you just end up taking your calculator and typing. Pull your calculator out. Go ahead and push buttons with me and make sure you're getting the same answers so we're on the same page with your calculator use. Push ln 10, hit enter. And I'm getting, remember we predicted it would be 2 point something? It's 2.30. Now it says 25 on my calculator. So 2.303. All answers are to the nearest 3 places on exponential and logarithmic equations. Okay? Number 3. Now let's just calmly think our way through this. You see this one, I hope your instinct is what? My goal is to get that e to the x by itself, just like I did on this first problem, right? So since that's a dot connected 2, wouldn't you divide both sides by 2? The 2's cancel. I've now got e to the x equals, well, 39 divided by 2 is what, 19.5? And I'm now to the same point that we were over here. So big deal. This isn't going to take us long once we get rolling here. Let's log both sides. When you're looking for a missing exponent on an equation, you have to log both sides. Now, don't log both sides. Again, our base is an e. So I'm going to ln. I'm going to natural log both sides. ln of e to the, now let's save ourselves a step. Why write an x up here when you're just going to move it out front anyway? Agreed? Now remember, whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other. I'm ln'ing both sides. So on the right side, I've got ln of 19.5. The lne is irrelevant because it's just a 1. So x equals, and I'm typing ln of 19.5 and getting 2.970. to the nearest 3 places. Okay? So far, so good. Number 5. Again, you'd see this on that worksheet. Number 5 says e to the x minus 5 equals 10. Do you agree to get this thing by itself? I'd add over the 5. All right? This isn't a complicated day. Calmly think about what each step would be. The 5s would cancel. I've got e to the x equals 15. Now I ln both sides, so ln of e to the x, that gets placed out front, equals ln of 15. I had to ln both sides. ln e is irrelevant. So again, I'm to the point where I'm just going to use my calculator, hit ln of 15, and get 2.708. Done. And the last one on the front of my paper, number 7. Ooh, now they're getting a little more complicated, at least looking as we go. My goal is to get this guy by itself, correct? So wouldn't you take that 7 and minus him to the other side? Minus 7, minus 7. He's gone. I have negative 2 e to the x equals, what is that, negative 2? Oh, divide by negative 2. Those would cancel. And I got e to the x equals, obviously, negative 2 over negative 2 is 1. Okay, freeze. I'm going to let you think about this for 5 seconds. Can't you tell what the missing number already is on this problem without having to log both sides and do what we've been doing? Think about it. E raised to what power would give you 1? Isn't our rule anything raised to the 0 power always gives you an answer of 1 no matter what? So I think we agree that my missing x is 0 on this problem. Okay? I'm flipping to the back. If you're referring to your worksheet, I'm on number 9. Uh-oh, instead of just an x, it's an e to the 3x equals 12. Okay, first of all, the good news is that e to the exponent that's missing is by itself, isn't it? So aren't we going to log both sides, natural log both sides? I've got ln of e to the only difference is this is now a 3x, and that entire exponent gets placed out in front, agreed? Equals ln of 12. Don't forget that. If I ln the left side, I got to ln the right side. Ln e gets disregarded. To get x all by itself, I'm going to divide by 3. Now, guys, careful. Piece of advice. Never type the whole thing in at one time on your calculator, because if you forget to close up that top parenthesis and you hit ln 12 divided by 3 and forgot to close up the 12, you'll get wrong answers. I always say type in the top, hit enter, and then divided by whatever the bottom is. So stay with me. Go ahead on your calculator, hit ln 12, hit enter, and then push divided by 3. And I'm getting 0.828 for the right answer. Okay? Next one. If my goal is to get that guy by itself, this is number 11. 500 e to the negative x equals 300. You agree because that's a dot connected 500. I'm going to divide both sides by 500. Those would cancel. I've got e to the negative x equals, pretty sure 300 divided by 500 is what? 0.6. I wonder what that exponent is. I have doubt. I don't know, do I? When in doubt, log it out. That's how you solve an exponential equation. So ln of e to the negative x, I'm going to move that to the front, equals ln of 0.6. ln e is always irrelevant because it's just a 1. So do you agree that to get that x now by itself, I got to divide by negative 1, correct? So on your calculator, again, following my advice, you're going to push ln 0.6, hit enter, then divided by negative 1, hit enter, and I'm getting 0.511, again to the nearest 3 places. Not bad. 13, oh boy. 3e to the 3x over 2 equals 962. If I said, quick, give that one a shot on your own, what would you do first? You agree, since we're trying to get e and his exponent by itself, we would divide, of course, by 3. 3's would cancel. E to the, okay, guys, watch this trick. That says 3x over 2. Isn't that really 3 halves x, right? 3x over 2 is really 3 halves x. And 3 over 2 is 1.5. So I'm just going to make this easy and turn that yucky fraction into 1.5x equals, okay, 962 divided by 3, enter, is 320.6666. I'll just put a bar over that. Now I'm going to log both sides. So ln of e to the 1.5x that's getting moved to the front following our power rule equals ln of 320.6666. The ln e's are irrelevant. I divide by 1.5. Those would cancel. So on my calculator, I'm hitting ln 320.66666. Just type a bunch of 6s, hit enter, then push divided by 1.5 and get, looks to me like it's 3.84, what, 7, if you looked at your calculator and rounded to the nearest 3 places. And then finally, number 15. Okay, guys, I'm putting a star here. Stay with me. This is the only one that looks much different than the rest. And you got to focus a little bit to see how we attack this one. Do you agree? If you look at number 15 here, e to the 2x minus 4e to the x minus 5 equals 0. Since it's equal to 0 and it's in, quote, standard form, and this is indeed a what? A trinomial on the left? Every time you've seen a trinomial, you've been taught to do what? Factor it into 2 binomials, right? That says e to the 2x. Wouldn't that be e to the x times another e to the x? Because think about it. E to the x times e to the x. What's the rule when you multiply 2 like bases? add the exponents. That would give me e to the 2x. Oh, so it is going to factor, because watch. If that's a minus at the end, my signs are different. I'm going to go a plus and a minus. And we always want to match that middle number, don't we? So wouldn't we go plus 1 and minus 5? And now that they're dot connected and they're equal to 0, I can do the old let's split them apart and set each one of them equal to 0. So I've got that and that. And now I'm going to solve each of those to get my two answers. Okay, now careful here. I'd shove that 1 over, and I have e to the x equals -1. Isn't that just like what we've been doing this whole time? So I'm going to ln both sides. I got ln of e to the x, that goes out front, equals ln of -1. Okay, that's irrelevant. Guys, watch what happens. I am going to predict right now that when you type this in your calculator, it's going to say error. ln -1, enter. Oh, it's a non-real answer. Think about it. There's no way that a logarithm, a natural log, can ever be a negative number next to it, because on my base is e. How can I take e and raise it to some exponent and have it turn into a negative number? You can't do that, can you? Even if you raise it to a negative exponent, all it does is flip it and give you a decimal answer. So that is an impossible scenario. Cross it out, and that is not going to produce a real answer. However, here, of course, I shoved the 5 over. E to the x equals 5. ln both sides. ln of e to the x, I put the x in front, equals ln 5. The ln e is irrelevant. This one's going to have an answer, correct? I type in ln 5 and get, let's see, 1.609. And I get one answer. Who would have thought that that's the answer that works in that exponential trinomial equation that's in standard form? So be careful on number 16 when you try your homework. Speaking of homework or assignment, whatever you want to call this, you are to do 2 to 16 even on the worksheet that's on your Schoology right underneath this lesson you just watched. So you do those 8 problems, follow the steps, take your time, use your calculator, and see if you can get all 8 of those correct. Do the best you can, step by step. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd, so you owe me 2 to 16 even by tomorrow, Thursday, the 23rd at noon. Okay? Great job. We'll see you then.